how to not let others control the direction of your life. As someone in the past who really struggled to be independent and take control of my own direction and would actually pursue things based on what others thought and what others wanted. And I found that's no way to live. So in this video, I plan to show you how to identify and learn what you want in your life, how to then develop and seek independence and confidence so you don't let others control your life, and finally, how to not let others control it and building upon that. With that being said, my name is Richardson. I'm a coach here at Life in Your Terms, and I make these videos to help pass on my knowledge and pass on my expertise so you guys can learn these things quicker than I ever could. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will understand, number one, what you want with your direction in life, but also how to build upon that and then not let others control it. So the first step in this process is actually going to be to learn what you want. If you want to have your own direction, you have to create one and figure out what you want out of life. And so the first thing I would encourage you to pursue and understand in this realm is that we all die. And if we all die, no one's going to remember us 3 generations from now. With that being said, I would not let anybody hold you back on what you want to pursue. If you want to travel the world and live in 10 different countries and experience all the different cultures and all the different environments, then go do it. And if you're worried about the judgment of your father because you're not making money, who cares? Because we're all going to die eventually, so we might as well use the time we have here on Earth. And that's just kind of my disclaimer to say that we all die, because once I learned that and really thought about that, it kind of freed me, and I want to give you that same thing. Now, a few activities you can do to identify your direction is to ask yourself, what is making the most out of your life look? Because I think a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to be happy in life, which is great. Of course you want to be happy, but you want to feel all of their emotions. But the better metric that I like to measure myself on is, what am I doing to make the most out of my life? And by doing that, I feel like I have a clear direction. Now, on top of making the most out of my life, I would also encourage you to run through these 4 situations. Now, these 4 situations are as follows. The first, if I were to give you $100 million, what would you do with it? What would you buy? Where would you travel? The second piece is, if I told you that I would pay you $100 grand a year, you just had to be doing something you enjoy, what would you do? The third thing is, if you had a 3-year expiration date, what are the things you would do within the 3 years before you died? And then the fourth and final piece is that if you were at your 100th birthday, what are some of the legacy items and legacy pieces that people would be talking about that you'd be really proud of? When you look at these 4, they each target a different thing, and they each target a different direction. And if you can look at them and rank them like, you know what? I would really care about what I would do with a 3-year expiration date. I'd really want to live life, maximize it, travel, be with family, and that's the direction I want to take in my life. Then go do it. And so by doing these, you can break down and figure out a general direction within your life, because that's the key. I think a lot of people think that a direction is a destination within their life. They think that, yep, I'm going to do this and this is all I'm going to do in life. But that's not true. You want to create a direction where you just kind of flow towards something, and eventually you'll learn along the way what really does make you happy and where you want to be. Now, on top of that, another activity you can do is the balance wheel, because in the balance wheel, it lays out your life in 4 areas of a pie: professional, relationships, resources, and health. And in laying out this pie, you can figure out, you know what? My health is like a 4 out of 10 right now, and I want to move it to an 8 out of 10. And that could be your direction in the short term. So the balance wheel serves as a really great way to work on your direction in the next 3 months, the next year, and how to build on top of that. Also, you can set a big, hairy, audacious goal, or a BHAG. This is something that's going to focus on the next 5 or 10 years. What's something that's huge, something that you want to conquer in the next 5 or 10 years? Your big mission, if you will, your one thing. And another activity you can do is you can go around the balance wheel and ask yourself, what does amazing look like in each one of those areas? Now, out of these activities, I'd ask you to comment which one you're going to try, and if you did try it, which one has been most valuable. Now, on top of that, once you develop these activities and go through them, I want you to reflect on them. You can reflect on them through meditation. I like to put on headphones, lay down, close my eyes, do it for even 20 minutes sometimes. On top of that, you could practice mindfulness. One of my favorite ways to practice mindfulness is to go outside over here and just sit in a chair and just look at the nature. I've got this cool backdrop of a bunch of trees out here, and I'm able to just kind of soak it in and look at everything around me, and I just think about my values and what's really important to me. Because the first step in not letting others control your direction of life is developing your own direction, and then we're gonna put conviction behind that in the next few steps. So the second piece is going to be how to not let others control that direction. So you've developed this direction, you've thought about it, but now it's time to actually stick to it and not let others control it. Because personally, I have a pretty close relationship with my grandfather, but he did not approve at all about what I was going to school for and now what I'm doing as a coach. He wanted me to be a lawyer, doctor, some high-paying job where you go to school, you get all the degrees, and you make a lot of money. But that's not what I wanted to do. So I had to develop these strategies so that I could stay to my direction and know what was truly important to me. So the first step in not letting others control your direction is going to be to learn how to say no. So many times in our lives, I think we get caught up in wanting to please people and saying yes to all these requests and demands, but I think that doesn't allow us to stick to our direction that we truly want in life. So the best way you can understand how to say no and yes to something in your life is you say yes to the things that align with your one thing. And if you haven't read the book, The One Thing is a great book, but your one thing could be thought of the 4 situations you came up. The balance wheel, what does amazing look like? What does making the most out of your life look like? What's your BHAG? Those 5 things comprise your one thing that you're gonna pursue that is most important to you. And you have to say no to everything that does not align with that. Because if you do not, time will be taken from you, energy will be taken from you, resources will be taken from you that could be dedicated to that one thing which is most important to you accomplishing in your life. So you have to learn to say no. Now, you can learn to say no by communicating honestly and directly, and that's what it takes, especially with the people closest to you in life, because they will have the most influence upon you. If some random dude came up to you on the street and said, "I think what you're doing is stupid," you probably really wouldn't take much from it. You wouldn't take it to heart. Now, if your father, if your mother, if your brother, or your friends, close friends say, "What you're doing is a waste of time," it might hit you in the heart a little bit more than that random person. So you have to understand how to communicate and honestly and directly be like, "Nope, this is what I'm doing. Do not talk to me like that, because this is what I'm going to pursue and this is what I want to pursue." And I'm so radical about it that if someone takes away from it and actively says those things for me, I will cut them out of my life, because my goals are more important than my friends or really anything. What I want to accomplish is most important in my life, because if I believe that if I accomplish it, I will leave an everlasting impact on this world, and that's what I care about. Outside of my very close immediate family, that being my future wife and kids, there is nothing really more important than that. My goals and my wife and my kids, my immediate family, and that is it. So everybody outside of that, I have to communicate directly and clearly that if you do not align with my one thing, this relationship is not gonna work. So you're gonna have to communicate honestly and directly. And you don't have to go as radical as I do, but I do think it's helpful because it's a clear line then. It's a clear, easy metric of they don't add to my goals, okay, I'm gonna communicate them. They have rejected that and they still do not that, cut. Or I communicate to them, hey, this is what I've accomplished. They change their behavior and then they become a champion for me. And that's even better. It's an added relationship that adds to my goals. So if you communicate and you can learn to say no, those are gonna be very effective to not let people control your direction. Now, on top of this, I want you to protect your time, because your time is your most valuable asset when it comes to your direction in life. If you do not protect your time, people will just take from it. You'll take demands. And I think a problem in our lives is that we think we owe people our time, but that's not true at all. We don't feel like we owe people money typically, so we definitely don't owe people time, because time is the only non-renewable resource in our life. So I want you to be mindful of your time. Where are you spending it? And I would actually encourage you to track it for a week. I just did this about 2 weeks ago. So valuable. I found out I was wasting so much time. And figuring out where I'm wasting it has allowed me to prioritize it and figure out what are the most important things I'm working on and how can I cut that waste. So I want you to be mindful. I want you to prioritize. And I don't want you to be obligated to feel like you have to give it away to anybody, because you don't have to give it away. Your time is your time, and how you want to spend it and how you choose to delegate it is your choice. So the third and the final piece of this is how to develop confidence and independence so that you can live your direction. So no one has control over it. The last step, we built upon it, built some strategies, but now it's truly time to sink into it and get through that direction and cultivate that independence and that confidence. And the first step is going to be, who do you surround yourself with? I kind of just touched on this point, but truly ask yourself, are you surrounding yourself with friends, family, and mentors who elevate your goals, who have higher expectations for you than you do of yourself? If you could find those people, keep them close. Because if people are detracting from your goals, it is time to cut them, at least in my opinion, and I found that very successful in my life. So ask yourself, who do you surround yourself with? Because that will affect your confidence and your dependence related to your direction. If all 5 of your friends say, dude, I don't know what you're doing with all this, that's gonna take away from your confidence. It's gonna eat at it. It's gonna make you think, and that's wasted time and wasted energy that could be spent on building that direction and building what you want to achieve. Now, on top of that, I want you to build self-esteem in the realm through skills and achievements. For example, if I were to be a coach and instantly make $1 million a year, I would have no doubt about what my grandfather had said. But because I didn't, which it necessarily wouldn't be realistic for me to just go there, first business, to just do that right away within a year, I did have some doubt. And so building the self-esteem in the realm will help you build confidence that you are sure of what you're doing in your direction. So whatever your direction is, I want you to go find achievements, skills that you can build on quickly so that you can get that confidence and get that independence so there's less doubt. Because when you have more confidence and you don't have doubt, you'll be more sure of your decision and you will make better decisions. Now, on top of self-esteem, you also want to seek independence in the financial, emotional, and social realms. Now, the reason you do this is because if I had relied on my grandfather financially, let's say he was pumping me with, like $4,000 a month so I could just live, he would have a lot more influence about my direction. I would feel almost obligated to go to college and do what he wants to do because of that. But because I was financially, emotionally, for the most part, and socially disconnected from him, I had the independence to be like, you know what? No, that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go do this. So with you wanna build that financial, emotional, and social disconnection from the person that may be taking from the direction. Not to say that you don't want to be around them or cut the relationship completely unless it's at that point, but to be able to develop that to build the independence, because then number one, you'll trust yourself more. You'll trust your intuition that, nope, this is the right direction. This is what I want to do. And I'm telling you, when you get to that point, it feels really fucking good. And on top of that, you will also rely less on others' opinions. And when you can do both of those, you will be sure of your direction. Others will not control your life. So if you haven't already, go do some of those activities that I talked about in point 1, because I promise you they'll be really helpful for you to develop your own direction. You have to know your direction before you can execute upon it. On top of that, if you haven't already, take the balance wheel. It's something that I do every quarter, and I find it really helpful for me to be able to figure out, okay, this is what I want to change next. Also, if you haven't already, comment, because then I know what to make more of.